Hey everybody, welcome back to Little Boy Customs. You voted, I listened. We're going to start working on the old bed here, getting ready to cut it down. This is going to be several different episodes because I'm not going to do it all in one episode. This episode here I'm going to show you how I measure out the front half of the bed and how I decide how much I'm going to cut out of the bed. This here is a long bed. We're going to cut it down and turn it into a short bed. And a little Google search and that kind of stuff, you will find out that the difference between a long bed and a short bed is 16 inches out of the front, 4 inches out of the back, and you would have you a short bed. And that's typically the way most people build these. I'm going to do mine a little differently. I found out what the center mark is on my wheel opening because I want my rear wheel to be in the center. And so this being a custom build, I decided we better do some measuring, and 16 inches cutting out of the front here is not going to work out for me. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, we're out here at the spare truck that I have, and I did unbolt the bed and moved it around a little bit. Originally, the gap was like that one over there. That distance over there is 1.5 inches, and I'll show you a side profile of that. This is a side profile of 1.5 inches right here. From this angle here, it doesn't look so bad, but the closer you get, the wider that is right there. And that's something I don't really care for so much. And so I moved the bed around a little bit. So I made the passenger side 1 inch from the cab, and as you can see, that gap looks a little bit better looking, or it does to me at least. And so I've decided that on the truck I'm building, I'm going to make it 1 inch from the cab to the bed. So that's going to be my gap. Okay, so here's the next thing I did. These are the crappy Grand Marquis rims that came with the car, and I decided I was going to find out what center is on those rims. That's the big cross in the middle. From having the center of the rim, I measured that center right there all the way to the back of the cab right there. That came out to be 39.75 of an inch, or 39.75, depending on how you want to say that. Next thing I did was I measured the opening here, and it's not exact, but it's somewhere in the right location. I have 2 marks. This is what I think is center, but it could be, it's really in between those two. So I've kind of played around with this spare wheel that I have here and moved it back and forth into that center location, just kind of see what the different looks are. And it's not exact right now because it's been moved. LB is in here, and well, he likes playing car builder as well. So his opinion is the wheel should go there after he's moved it a couple of times. But I want it to go a little further forward, more in line with these 2 marks right here. And so because of that, I measured out from this edge right here back to find out what the distance is all the way to this center line mark right here. And I came up with 56 inches. So then I took that 56 inches and I subtract 38.75. You may be asking yourself, why 38.75 and not the 39.75? But remember, I want to keep that inch gap in between the cab and the bed. So I subtracted 1 inch there. With that measurement, I have determined that this length here, I need to take 17.25 or 17.25 inches out of the front up here in order to get my wheel where I want it to be in that opening there. So I've already kind of started. I've made several different tick marks on the truck trying to figure out where I want to cut it at. 2 things I'm trying to get around. I have damage right here, which you can't see from this angle, but maybe you can see it more here. It's concaved in right here. And so I want to try to cut that out. That way I don't have to rework that part of the bed. The other thing I'm working against is this truck had a spare tire mount right there where you see those two little dots and going down. I've already taken that spare mount out, but over the years it rusted a hole in the bottom of that bed right there. And so I don't want to patch that either. So I'm going to try and make that part of my cut as well. Now the one thing I haven't accounted for is that there is braces running underneath this truck, which you can see down through here. And I want to try and keep all those for the most part, the major ones, like this one right here. There's one down there at the back. I want to try and keep all that. I also want to keep the two in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to have to try to measure around those as well and see if I can't come up with something. Worst case scenario, if we do cut that out, we'll make a new bracket to go down through there. This is the laser that I got. It has bubbles on it for levels and that kind of stuff, so that I know my shop floor is not exactly 100% level. I know that once I level that thing out there, it will be level. And then the only thing else that I needed to do was level the bed out. So you could always level it out by the top like that right there. That's not how I did it, because as you can see, my bed has some crinkles in it and that kind of stuff. It was a farm truck and it was used quite often. So what I did was took the level, and the front of these here should be pretty well level from the factory setting on the truck, as it was on the back side of that cab. If you remember, whenever I made a video on the back side of the cab, that's how I made sure that the truck was level, was by putting a level on the back side of that cab there. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on the front here, and as you can see, it is pretty well level. Let me zoom in so you can see that. Pretty well level right there. So it wasn't that way originally. The bed is setting on a homemade car body dolly, and it has served its purpose several times throughout the years. All I did was put my jack underneath the bottom half of it and started jacking up this side of it until the level showed to be level on this side here. Now I have my tick marks. There's several on here, but that's the 7-inch mark right there, because I'm going to leave the first 7 inches so that I can retain this hole here. So I will line all these 7-inch marks up with a laser light, and then once I do that, then we'll run a Sharpie marker down through there, and that'll give us our first line of where we want to cut at. And then we'll do the same thing on the 17.25 inches down, which would be from the very front right there down, it would be at 24.25, and that'll give us our second mark in order to cut the front section of this here out. I haven't decided if I'm going to do the 4 inches in the back. That would be a generic number that I would keep from doing the Google searching. I wouldn't change that number because I'm not trying to get it to line up with a wheel or anything else like that. I'm just trying to get the truck to look correct. If I was going to, because I'm taking a full 1.25 inches out more up here than what it calls for, I may take 3 3/4 inches out back here instead of no, I would take 2 3/4 inches out back here instead of a full, in order to make up for that inch that I took extra out of the front. That would still make it look like it's the same length as another short wide bed that it was parked next to, and it would confuse the eye a little bit more as to what's different about this truck versus that truck. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not yet. I may end up just leaving this whole section here and not worry about cutting the back half off. I've seen a truck done that way before and it didn't look that bad. I just really don't know until I get this section up here done first. Alright guys, so you've seen how I set everything up. get the bed level, have this laser beam level here, and then I went over, turned the lights off, and fired up the laser. And as you can see, there's a beam running up and down the bed there. All we're going to do now is take our Sharpie and follow that beam all the way down through there. All right, so I said I was going to use a Sharpie, but that didn't work out for me. I don't have a steady enough hand in order to trace that line down through there. So I went and got some blue painter's tape, which I had laying around here, and went down through there. It was a lot easier. It's kind of like, it's just easier to do it that way. You can go further down the truck and find the same points pretty quickly versus putting the, all right, I don't know if y'all can see that. There it is pretty well right there. Now, I've turned the laser off to where it's not spinning anymore. So I'm just going to freehand it, and I'll let you follow along. And we'll just make sure that that light is right on that seam. And as you can see, all the way down it is. So, that'll be our first mark. Now we'll do the second mark right over here, and we'll do it the exact same way. I'll leave that tape on there. I may come back and use a Sharpie and just mark it onto the bed in case something happens to that tape. I'll still have a line there. But we'll set it up, we'll do our second line, and that will be the section that we're going to cut out. Okay, we have our second mark up here, and we have slowed our laser machine down on the spinning. And let me see if I can focus in here, and we'll see how good we are at it. See, it's right on the line of the tape right there. Looks pretty good to me. So that is the section that we'll be cutting out. Now the only thing we have to do is flip the bed around, level it, and do the same thing to the other side. And then of course we'll have to measure everything out that's going to be on the inside here. Straight down through there on both sides and across the floor here. Alright guys, now that you've seen how I've measured out the front half of this and I've got this section here ready to be cut out, I will finish the other side over there and mark the inside of the bed as well, but that will do it for this episode. On the next episode we'll measure out the back half of this and put the marks on there, and then also start cutting the front half off. That'll do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. Smash that like button for me, and always, if you have questions, leave a comment down below. I will get back to you. Until next time, thanks for watching. Be safe.